Arg.
Hey guys, welcome to yet another edition of the Mixtape Podcast, the podcast dedicated to examining film from a writer's perspective. I'm your host for this time around. My name is Marcelo Destroza, joined as always by my fellow co-host, Dean Stark. And on today's edition of the show, we'll be talking about the 2019 film written and directed by Robert Eggers. We'll be talking about The Lighthouse. So, as I do every week, I will pass it over to Dean to take us through this film.
The Lighthouse was also written by Robert's brother, Max Eggers. So if you don't know what The Lighthouse is, it is about this. Two lighthouse keepers try to maintain their sanity while living on a remote and mysterious New England island in the 1890s. So the setup, we meet Winslow, which is played by Robert Pattinson, and he gets to the island to begin a 4-week job as an assistant lighthouse keeper. And then we meet Thomas Wake, who's played by Willem Dafoe, who is the official lighthouse keeper. And he's a bit weird. He's a bit odd. He's an older guy with a beard, and it's just them on this like rock of an island. There's there's literally like a house, and then the lighthouse, and then like a work shed. Like there's nothing. There's nobody else. He tells Winslow his shift is night till morning, and Thomas's shift, which is Willem Dafoe, his shift is morning till night. Is that right? Night till morning.
That's right. You got it.
Right, thank you. So, and he also says he's not to go near the lantern of the lighthouse. You don't go near it. You can go in the lighthouse, but you cannot go up the stairs near the lantern. And Robert Pattinson's like, yep, okay, whatever. And he just tells him to do odd jobs, but he tells him to do like shit jobs around the property, like, clean the fucking, toilets and shovel this and do this. Like it's just shit, just fucking shit jobs. And you have this feeling like, oh, well, he obviously needs an assistant because there's all this work that has to be done and he can't handle it himself. But as the movie goes on, you go, oh, that's not the reason why. Also in the setup, when Winslow, Robert Pattinson, gets to his bunk or his bedroom, he finds a small mermaid carving that he puts in his pocket, and that's a setup for like later on stuff that will come out. So what do you think about the setup? What do you think about the setup of Winslow, the setup of Thomas, the fact that they're trapped? Basically, they're trapped on a rock, and whatever happens is going to happen, and there's no escape. I really like it when directors and writers do that. You trap your actors, and then you throw as much shit at them as possible, and knowing they can't escape, and seeing what their reactions are going to be. So, thoughts?
I love this movie, but guys, I had to watch this movie 3 times to fucking understand it. This movie is so fucking difficult. The way that they speak, the tone that Robert Eggers and his brothers give the characters, I'm like, what in the holy fuck is going on here? But after 3 times of watching this movie, I discovered what it was about. And this movie is about isolation. This movie is about one man abusing another one because he can. And like Dean said, her favorite kind of storytelling is putting characters in a box and saying, you can't get out. What's going to happen now? And no surprise, I love that storytelling device. And that is all that this movie is. This movie is basically watching one man go mad for however long this movie is. And to me, that's the true genius of this movie. Not the way it looks, not the way it's acted, but the concept within itself is fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen this is the second time I've watched it, and I yeah, look, yeah, it is. It's about isolation. It's about if you put two people and isolate them, what's going to happen? That's basically what it is. Could Robert Eggers made it a fucking teensy bit clearer? Yeah. He could have made it a little bit clearer. He didn't. There are a lot of people that love this movie. There are a lot of people that don't get it, that hate it. But I see what Robert was going for. That's my opinion. I see the point. So anyway, the next chunk I've got is we see Thomas, which is Willem Dafoe, sitting in the lighthouse, like at the top, and he's sitting in front of the lantern. and he's entranced by the light, almost euphoric, almost orgasmic. And you're like, what is going on with this guy? So basically, all night, Thomas sits there and basically makes Winslow do all the work during the day while he sleeps. So poor Winslow thinks that, Thomas is up all night doing all this work, but what he's really doing is he's just sitting there in front of the lantern. That's all he's doing. And the reason why Thomas wants an assistant, not because he needs it, because he's not actually doing anything. He's just sitting there. He wants someone to do all the fucking work. And he treats Winslow like an absolute dog, like garbage, like a fucking slave. Like, this isn't good enough. Do it again. And Winslow's like, I've already done it. He's like, no, fucking do it again. It's not done. Like, he just treats him like fucking shit. Basically the first 35 minutes of the movie is watching Winslow just like abuse sorry, watching Thomas abuse
Thomas.
Winslow.
Thomas.
Yeah, it's watching him abuse Winslow, Robert Pattinson, and treating him like dirt and making him do all these fucking shit tasks. And it's just like, oh my, that's the first 35 minutes of the movie. That's why I'm doing it in chunks and not scene by scene. So yeah, when I came to that realization, because when I watched this movie for the first time, I didn't get it. I'm like, what the fuck? But then I went, oh, that's why he wants an assistant to do everything he's supposed to do, but he doesn't want to do it because he's like entranced by this fucking lantern light. So, what did you think?
To be honest with you, I was like, Thomas, what do you want to do? Fucking jerk off the fucking lantern light?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What the fuck are you
He
doing?
probably does.
Yeah, like also the brilliant setup to this movie, like it's just abuse upon abuse upon abuse. So guys, I was waiting for Winslow to fucking drive anything to this motherfucker's head. What the fuck, dude?
Yeah, no, I get it. And I was waiting for that. I thought Winslow, Robert Pattinson, I thought he took a lot. But the reason we learned that the reason he takes it is because he just wants to get paid, wants a recommendation, and then he just wants to go on with his life. And it's only 4 weeks. Like, it's only 4 weeks. I think like he's like, yeah, I can handle 4 weeks. He's the boss. He's an asshole. Look, we've all had jobs where like our boss has been a fucking asshole, and you just take it because you just fucking take it. So now we learn that we learn a little bit about Winslow. We learn he used to work in the timber industry, but he says he just got sick of it and wanted to try something new. And he heard you can make a lot of money like tending to a lighthouse. So he chose this. It was nothing. It's not what he wants to do with his life. It's got nothing else to do. He wants to save his money for a home of his own. So you learn a little bit about him and his backstory. And then we learn a little bit about Thomas. Thomas says he was a sailor, but he injured his leg and couldn't do it anymore, but he wanted to stay close to the ocean because he loved it. And he now tends to the lighthouse. Now, listen, the backstory on both of these men is quite thin. I didn't connect with either of them at all. I don't know if that's something Robert cared about. I think maybe he cared more about the isolation concept, which is fine. It doesn't have to be a character piece. But if you're going to put two people in a room on their own, which is basically what this has done, it kind of has to be a character piece. Some people may have connected with both the characters. I didn't. I don't know how you went with it, but I didn't.
I believe that Robert Eggers and his brother hung this movie on the situation. I believe that they weren't concerned about telling us anything about the main characters, and that to them was a afterthought. Would I have done that? No. Did that bother me that we didn't know anything about these people? Yes. So that didn't work for me at all. But I understand why Robert Eggers and his brother did that. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, look, yes, it was the isolation aspect. I understand that. It didn't ruin it for me, but I just wanted to connect a little bit more with the characters. So now Thomas reveals that his previous assistant, because Winslow is asking what happened to your other assistant, he says his previous assistant went crazy and started to see things. Fucking giant octopuses, tentacles, mermaids, stuff like that. And then he died, and I had to get a new one. Unfortunately, this is exactly what is starting to happen to Winslow. He's starting to see things. The first thing he sees is he sneaks up to the lighthouse at night because he wants to know what's going on. Because every time he looks up to the lighthouse, he sees Thomas sitting there just in front of the light naked. And he's just like, what the fuck is he doing every fucking night? So he sneaks up there, he walks up the stairs, and he's standing like under the lantern. There's like a cage thing that you have to unlock. Thomas is the only one that has the keys, so Winslow can't like go up there. And he sees this like giant tentacle octopus thingy in the room with Thomas, and then this like goop that comes down, and Thomas is like moaning, and it's like really fucking weird. And it's like, what the fuck is going on up there? Later on, he's walking along the beach, and then he finds a mermaid that's been washed up on the beach. So basically, what Thomas said happened to his previous assistant is what is happening to Winslow. The thing that gets me is I understand this is about isolation, but Winslow has only been on the island for a couple of weeks. That wouldn't happen if you've only been isolated for a couple of weeks. That would take like months to like a year. So I don't buy the fact that this guy's on the island being treated badly for like 3 to 4 weeks and then he starts going crazy. Unless there was something else happening that I didn't understand, I thought it was just a little bit too quick for me.
That did not work for me either for all the reasons that you just said. I don't I did not buy that, Winslow would go crazy this fast. I needed a little bit more boiling for him, to be honest with you. And that's why I love this movie, but I hate it at the same time. I love what Robert Eggers was trying to do, but I don't think I fully agree with the execution.
Yeah, I understand what they were trying to do. I like what they were trying to do. It was a bit too quick. Now, if they had made the story that Winslow was there for 6 months and then we could fast forward to 6 months later, that would have worked.
Would you have felt better if Robert Eggers had put time cards?
You know I'm all about the time cards. Yes, yes, I would love time cards. So, but that's not what we got. That would have been easier for me, and it would have made more sense the fact that he went crazy. But that's not what we got. So after 4 weeks, it's been 4 weeks. Winslow's been abused by Thomas the whole time. Finally, he's fucking leaving, and after 4 weeks, and I don't, I don't know, I don't find this funny. It's just there's a shot where Winslow and Thomas are standing on the rocks waiting for the boat, and it's pissing down rain and it's windy, and they're just standing there. They just look freezing, and Winslow's holding his bags in there, and it's like a minute shot. It doesn't cut away. And I'm like, oh my God, like fucking poor Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe. So there's a storm happening and the boat never arrives. So they go back inside. And the next day, Thomas says to Winslow, don't worry, don't worry. The boat's gonna come again. Because Winslow was like, maybe we missed it. And Thomas is like, well, it was stormy, the boat's gonna come again. And then Thomas tells him he was supposed to leave weeks ago. And Winslow says, no, the boat was supposed to come yesterday. And Thomas just gives him this look like yesterday. And so now is when the movie turns into who's crazy and who's not, right? Is Thomas the crazy one or is Winslow the crazy one? Like, who do you believe? Who is telling the truth and who is lying? Was the boat supposed to come the day before, or was it really weeks ago and Thomas is going crazy and he has no concept of time anymore because he's gone that mentally like down the fucking loophole. But now he's stranded because Thomas says to Winslow, yeah, the boat's not going to be back for a while, like at least like months. And fucking Winslow's like, no, 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 no. I don't want to be here. I have to get off now. And like, they have an argument. Thomas says he's been listening to this for weeks, which is what he's been listening to for weeks. Winslow crying that the boat came yesterday, but it hadn't. It had come weeks ago. But anyway, I like the switch. I like the switch between now you don't know who's crazy and who's not, because there's a couple of things that Robert Eggers does, and he does a little bit of switcheroos. So Winslow and Thomas start to have conflicting stories about events, and you don't quite know who's telling the truth and who's actually gone mental. So I like that aspect. I wish it was clearer and I wish there was more of it, but I like that aspect.
For the record, I believe Winslow. I believe Winslow. I believe Thomas is absolutely insane. I really, really, really love the way that Robert Eggers, again, to echo Dean's points, the way that he created the suspicion with the audience. Who do you believe? What story is actually true? who's crazy in here, who's not. I really love the way that Robert Eggers and his co-writers did that. Also, for no reason at all, that shot of them standing in the rain waiting for the boat, I just laughed my ass off. I don't I don't know what it is, but I just couldn't hold it.
Yeah.
There's something about that shot that just makes me laugh. I don't know what it
You
is.
just feel so bad for them. So, Winslow, Robert Pattinson's, begins to descend deeper and deeper and deeper into madness. And he wants to kill Thomas. Now, at the beginning of the movie, there is kind of a story arc for Thomas. No, sorry, for Winslow. I keep getting them confused. Um, Winslow at the beginning, he doesn't drink. He doesn't drink it at all. He's very straight laced, and by the time he descends, he's a drunk. He's getting drunk all the time because he doesn't want to be there. He can't get off the island, and it's 1890, so you can't call someone. You can't. They don't even. He doesn't even have a fucking radio, which always struck me as weird. Both times I was watching it, I'm like, the dude doesn't have a radio at all. Like, yeah. Anyway, I thought that was weird. So he's getting drunk all the time, and then you see him still doing the work. I wouldn't do the work. Like if I'm stranded there, you're not paying me, I'm not doing the work. But he continues to do the work. And then he pulls up a lobster trap and he thinks he sees a severed human head in the trap. Now, whether it was there or not, again, we don't know because Winslow's going a little bit mad. And he's trying very unsuccessfully. Remember the little mermaid trinket he found? He's trying unsuccessfully to masturbate to the Little Mermaid trinket. But he can't do it because he keeps getting flashes of like all this shit and it's just intruding in his brain. And I'm watching this movie going, it just doesn't take much for a guy, does it? Just fucking doesn't take much. Fucking mermaid little trinket that's like 2 inches tall. Doesn't fucking take much. But yeah, he's descending deeper and deeper and deeper into madness.
As the only guy here, I would like to say it doesn't take much at all.
Yes, I knew it. Yes. Go for
I
it.
don't like this. I don't like at this point I'm going, what the fuck? Why is he masturbating?
He's masturbating because he's bored. He's got nothing else to do. That's what.
Probably.
Yeah. Next chunk we've got is Winslow admits to Thomas because they have deeper it's weird. They have a lot of deeper meaningfuls without actually fucking saying anything of substance. At all. They have so many chats, but none of it means anything. It's just gobbledygook. It's fucking nothing. Winslow admits, Robert Pattinson, that at his last job at the timber place, there was an incident where his boss slipped and he couldn't get out and he was reaching up for Winslow and Winslow hated his boss so much that he just fucking let him die. He just let him die. He didn't care. And he took on the name of Winslow. His name's not actually Winslow, it's Thomas. So now you have Thomas and Thomas. So I'm going to keep calling him Winslow for the sake of my own fucking sanity for this fucking movie. But there's a story. Again, you didn't need to know. I don't care. Maybe it shows he has no regard for human life. Maybe it shows that if he hates you, he'll kill you and he doesn't care. Maybe he's trying to show that. If he is, I understand. Winslow then has this like weird vision of finding himself tied up and Thomas did it. And he starts racing to the rowboat because the vision he thinks happened. And he's like, oh no, he races to the only rowboat that they fucking have on the island in the shed to try and escape. When Thomas, Willem Dafoe, comes along with an axe and destroys the boat saying, don't leave me. And then fucking Winslow runs off back to the house because there's nowhere to go. There's like a house, a shed, and a fucking lighthouse. There's nowhere else to fucking go. And it's storming all the fucking time. It's raining, it's storming, it's horrible. But when they actually get back to the house, Thomas says, Winslow, you destroyed the boat and you chased me with the axe. And now Winslow's like, what the fuck? Like he doesn't know. And this is what I mean. You don't know. Did Winslow chase Thomas or did Thomas chase Winslow? Like, and you never know. You never fucking know. So what did you think about the boss story, which I don't think needed to be told?
The only thing that is working for this movie, from my point of view, is the way that Robert Eggers is creating suspicion between the two characters. The fact that Winslow killed his boss, I'm like, I don't care. That's unnecessary. You don't need that. The fact that these characters have fucking meaningful conversation is great, but that doesn't work because I don't understand what they're fucking saying half the time. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Next up, Winslow finds Thomas's logbook and sees that Thomas has written basically Winslow's a shit worker. Don't recommend, don't pay him. And Winslow fucking loses it. Now, this is the one point of the movie that I thought was written competently, is when Winslow goes off at Thomas. The dialogue that Robert Pattinson says is so good. He should have won a fucking award just for that fucking speech. He's just the whole movie he's held back. And this is the time where he's just giving it to him and giving it to him and you don't know shit and blah 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 blah. You don't know me and all this shit. And Thomas just sits there and he listens. And then by the end of the whole fucking rant, when Robert Pattinson has finished doing the whole rant, which looked from an actor's perspective, not that I'm an actor, but it looked exhausting for him to deliver that dialogue because there was so much emotion attached to it. Thomas sits there and then he tells him, "But you are a shit worker. You are shit. You just can't see how shit you are." And that doesn't help. So Winslow starts hallucinating the mermaid that he saw on the beach. And then an octopus creature, while a giant octopus creature, while he's beating the shit out of Thomas, he just starts seeing all this fucking weird shit. He ends up beating the shit out of Thomas within an inch of his life because he's fucking had enough of this guy abusing him, which I don't hold that against him. He ends up putting a leash around Thomas's neck and making him walk on all fours like a dog. And for some reason, Thomas does it. Thomas, I can't. It's like role reversal, but there's no. I don't know why Thomas just goes along with it. He could have easily stood up and taken the rope around his neck and just kind of beaten the shit out of Winslow, but he doesn't. And then Winslow leads him to like an open grave that he's dug and tells him to get in it, and Thomas just does. That's weird. And then he starts shoveling dirt into the hole over Thomas, and then Winslow then steals the lighthouse keys from Thomas. Yeah, the only thing I liked about that scene was Robert Pattinson's speech, which he should have won the award for because it just looked emotionally exhausting. But everything else, like I didn't get. Why did Thomas allow Winslow to do this to him? The whole time, Thomas has been like the boss, the guy, you're not going to do this, and suddenly he's like, okay, you can treat me like a dog. I don't know, man. That just didn't fly for me.
The only good part about the scene was The only good part about the scene was Robert's speech. The rest of it, rubbish.
So moving on with the story, Winslow gets back to the house and Thomas comes up behind him and puts an axe into his arm. Now, Winslow is so adrenaline pumped at this point that he doesn't even he notices it, but it doesn't hurt him. So anyway, he pulls the axe out of his arm and basically pushes Thomas off of him and just puts the axe in his head and doesn't give a fuck. Lights a smoke. Doesn't give a fuck. At this point, I wouldn't give a fuck either.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Fucking hell. Shall we move on to the shortest podcast we've ever done?
Go, go, go.
All right. So Winslow crawls up the stairs to the lantern room. Now he's never been up there before. He unlocks the gate and steps inside, and the big lantern, the light, is in like a clear like fucking, I don't know, hub thingy. Anyway, there's a small door that opens. It's like a covering. There's a small door that opens, and Winslow is standing right in front of it. And he looks directly into the light and he starts screaming in delight, I guess. I've written literally, I guess. I don't know if it's in pain or in delight. And then he falls down the stairs of the lighthouse. Now, the final scene of the movie is Winslow on the rocks near the beach, like dead or half dead with seagulls like pecking at his like innards. I don't know if Robert was trying to say, like, that's where he was the whole time and the whole movie was just, like, nothing? Because when he falls down the stairs, there's no way he could get to the rocks naked. So you don't like, what I don't know. That's the end.
I think that this movie is a giant meditation piece on what happens to people when they're put in seclusion. And I think that these seamen were hallucinating because they were alone and they were isolated. And I think both of them were fucking crazy. I
Yeah,
I I don't think that the final scene indicates that the whole thing was a dream the whole time. I think both of them were fucking crazy.
yeah. No, I agree.
Now
I agree.
now now I have no idea how Winslow fell down the stairs and then the next scene where he's on the beach. How? What? That doesn't work.
This
But
whole movie doesn't work. Okay, so that's the end, and I'm gonna go to my trivia now. Okay, you'll like this. You'll like this because I fucking laughed at this in a crazy maniacal Joker kind of way. Laugh. The initial script for The Lighthouse actually made sense when Robert and Max wrote it. It made sense, but Robert's goal was to make the audience go crazy and be confused like Winslow. So he changed the script to make it not make sense, but there is a draft out there, folks, that makes sense. He made it like this, like obviously it was on purpose, but there's a script where it's not. It's like clear. That's exactly what he did. He made people go crazy. Fucking hell.
let's calm down here for a second. I think Robert Eggers is an exceptional filmmaker, but I think this one time, what he tried to do didn't work for us. Obviously,
I understand what the point was. Like you said at the beginning, it's about isolation. Two people on, basically a rock. I understand what he was going for. It didn't work because you can do that in a way that can confuse the audience a little bit, but not so much to be like, oh, what the fuck. Now, this movie has gotten like so good reviews, and people love this movie. Like, oh my god, it's so good. And then I realized why people like it. It's an art house movie because art house movies generally don't make fucking sense. So all the art house people are going, this is amazing, and all us fucking normies are going, this makes no fucking sense. So, because I'm wondering, why has it got such a high rating on fucking IMDb? Like, why do people love it? Like, it's the art house people that like it, not us. I'm not accustomed to art house films. That's just not the type of film that I like. Anyway, next fucking thing. Okay, the weather conditions in the film were real. It was freezing and raining the whole fucking time. That was real.
good on Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe for tolerating that. How the production filmed in that, I have no idea.
Difficult. Very, very difficult. But they did it. They did it. Okay. This is interesting. The story of this movie is loosely based on a real life story from 1801 in which two lighthouse keepers, both named Thomas, become trapped on their lighthouse station during a storm.
You know what? I like that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, he's taken it to another fucking level, but it's pretty cool. My last piece of trivia is this: the mermaid little trinket from the movie, A24 auctioned it off and it ended up auctioning for $110,000.
Okay.
Some people have too
Wow.
much money, they don't know what to do with it.
Jesus Christ.
Someone loved
Guy,
this
yeah.
movie so much.
Look, whoever bought that thing, sir or ma'am, you need to think about your life choices.
I have groceries that need to be bought, so if you want to sling some cash in my way, I would love it. Anyway, that's the end of my trivia. That's the end of this. That's the end. That's the end.
All right, guys. Well, if you like our show and you want to send us comments, questions, whatever, we are. You can send us an email at themixtapepod at AOL.com. But if you want to come back next week, we'll be talking about the film Get Out from a very accomplished filmmaker. But until next week, for Dean Stark, I am Marcelo Nostroza saying, if someone is ever kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must truly mean that they love you.
The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.